Hello YouTube, this is AOC85 here, coming to you guys with the next deck profile. It is an Agent Fairy / Master Hyperion deck, which has been popularized in the OCG from, I think, Structure Deck 20, The Lost Sanctuary. Structure Deck 20 doesn't hit us here in the TCG or stateside until, I believe, it's July 20th. But I just wanted to bring you guys my deck list right now, and then the usual segments with like details and discussion about the monster spells and traps I run. Now this deck is a bit different from other Agent Fairy / Hyperion decks in that I utilize their field spell, the Sanctuary in the Sky, because a lot of the agent monsters have additional effects when the Sanctuary in the Sky, when you control a copy of the Sanctuary in the Sky. So let's get right into the deck list. Without further ado, 3 copies of Zeridius, Herald of Heaven. He's your Gravekeeper's Commandant. You ditch him to add a copy of Sanctuary in the Sky from your deck to your hand. 3 copies of Master Hyperion. Now when I talk about the monsters, I will talk about all the Japanese specific effects of these monsters. Well, Japanese monsters and their effects, because they're not in the TCG, and as you can see, the wording on the card is in Japanese, and for those of us who can't read Japanese, I will have a detailed analysis of what these guys do. But just know that Hyperion is your boss monster. He's sort of like a light-themed Dark-Armed Dragon. Less powerful, but a lot more balanced, so a lot less likely to be hit by the ban list. We have 3 copies of the Agent of Wonder Earth, level 2 tuner, light fairy monster, who doubles as the deck Stratos. When she's normal summoned, you add an agent monster from your deck to your hand. And if you have the Sanctuary in the Sky, you can add a copy of Master Hyperion. So she's the searcher. And a very versatile searcher at that. Who doubles as a tuner. You have 2 copies of the Agent of Creation, Venus. Use her to spam your 3 copies of Mystical Shine Ball. I do a 2-to-3 ratio, which I'll tell you the reason why behind that, but basically you pay 500 life points to special summon one of these bad boys from your deck or hand, and then you can use that in conjunction with your tuner. The Agent of, I believe it's Wonder Earth, to spam Trishula, and it's a pretty potent combo. 2 copies of the Agent of Miracles of Jupiter, 1800 beat stick, 1000 defense. He's sort of like an honest replacement in this deck. You can remove from play a light agent fairy monster in your graveyard to have 1 light fairy monster you control gain 800 attack. Pretty decent. Now in my version of the deck, I'm testing 2 variants. One where I use 2 copies of the Herald of Orange Light, which as most people know is like a more versatile version of Effect Veiler. The downside is that you need to discard her and an additional fairy monster, a light fairy monster, to negate the activation of any opponent's, any effect monster's effect, even your own if you wanted to, and destroy it. Unfortunately, because you're using 2 monsters to negate 1 effect, you're kind of minuting yourself, but sometimes that is crucial to negate that 1 Xian or that 1 Trishula that might just wreck your entire day. 1 copy of Honest. Sorry if you can't see it, it's the Ghost variant, which I just realized doesn't really film too well. Maybe next time I just use the regular version, but yeah, it's Honest, you know. Battle phase control, light monsters, you gotta have it. On to the spells. Monster Reborn, staple. 1 copy of Mystical Space Typhoon. Only run 1 because of the trap lineup. 1 copy of Terraforming, Japanese. Makes the, I guess, the consistency of getting to that field spell card crucial. Giant Trunade, you know, make that final push. 3 copies of the fairy's specific draw card. It's called Card from the Sky. It's kind of like a black card for black feathers. You remove from play 1 light fairy monster in your hand. Draw 2 cards. You can't special summon the turn you use this, and you can't conduct your battle phase. So it's kind of a real downer in terms of like limiting what you can do, but it's crucial in making the deck consistent and getting to those combo cards. And with Jupiter's effect, which I'll talk about in the next video, it makes discarding those fairy monsters, removing from play those fairy monsters, kind of beneficial for overall strategy. 2 copies of Path of Duality. Get 3 combo pieces, mill through your deck. It's just awesome for consistency. 3 copies of The Sanctuary in the Sky. This thing is awesome. I love this field spell card. So long as when it's activated, any battle damage you take from a fairy monster is reduced to 0. So basically you don't take battle damage as long as you have a fairy monster on your field, which means that you can have even tiny monsters and not worried about getting run over. It also gives additional effects to a lot of these agent fairy monsters, which I'll talk about in my next video. 2 copies of White Elephant's Gift, an additional draw card which you use in conjunction with Mystical Space Typhoon. You summon it to your field, use this to send it to the graveyard, draw 2 cards, add field to Hyperion's effect, which I'll talk about later, and it's just nice. 3 copies of Divine Punishment. It is their Solemn Judgment. You only activate it if you have a controller copy of the Sanctuary. No, if a copy of the Sanctuary of the Sky in the sky is on the field. So in the mirror match, it's awesome too. But basically, what it does is negates the activation of any spell, trap, or effect of monster's effect and destroys it. It's has no life point costs. Therefore, it is like, oh my gosh, it's like I've tested so many times where I basically just went against samurais, negate Shein, negate their stuff, and it was just like, what the? My opponents were like, what the hell? This is like a real card, and unfortunately, yeah, it'll be here in July, so watch out for that. 2-dimensional prison, and finally, the trap lineup finishes with 1 Mirror Force and 1 Solemn Judgment. Now you might notice that I don't run Dark Hole. I don't run only 1 copy of MST, and I don't run Argelor Christia. Those are cards I side deck, and I'll talk about that, the reason why, in my next videos. But here's real quick the deck lists. Hope you guys like it. Rate, comment, subscribe, and see you soon with part 2 of what I call the Heavenly Hosts.